Hello, my name is Leanne Fuel, and I'm going to do a book review on the book, the title, The Leadership Challenge, How to Make Extraordinary Things Happen in an Organization by Jim Kouzes and Barry Posner. This is for the program at the University of Texas Arlington, Nurse 5343, for Dr. Candida Constantine Castillo. First, I'm going to talk about the authors, Jim Kouzes and Barry Posner. They've been studying leadership for over 30 years. They've sold more than 2 million copies of their first edition of this book, The Leadership Challenge, and it was also selected as one of the top 10 books on a leadership subject matter in Covert and Satterson's The 100 Best Business Books of All Time. So I think that gives them a lot of credibility. They've also co-authored a lot of books together, more than a dozen, and have developed something called the LPI, which is the Leadership Practice Inventory, which annually receives about 500,000 responses from various leaders that currently are utilizing leadership practices in their everyday life. And they kind of discuss questionnaires and they're come up with best practices for what works and what doesn't in leadership. There has been 500 dissertations and academic papers based on their theory, the 5 practices of exemplary leadership, and they are both still practicing professors and lecturers around the country and internationally, and both of them are employed at the Levy School of Business at Santa Clara University. So these are pretty much the gurus of leadership. The target audience for this book is pretty much anyone who wants to do leadership. All active leaders, newly appointed leaders. This would be a very beneficial book to have in your library. Any potential future leadership and any role model for leadership would also benefit from reading this book. The purpose of this book is to review the 5 practices of exemplary leadership, to simplify the leadership process and make it relevant to those who are reading the information. And it's also to build the confidence of a leader by just seeing other people's examples. There is actual real world stories in this book, and they are discussing their pros and cons of their actions and how following these 5 practices has made a difference in their corporations and companies. So I'm going to talk about exactly what this book is about, and it pretty much all focuses around the 5 practices of exemplary leadership, which I'm going to review here one by one. The first of the exemplary leadership model is modeling the way, ironically. Jim and Barry say that titles don't make you a leader. It's actually how you behave that makes the difference. So basically, it's you showing people how you want them to behave and how you want them to work for you. So the first thing is you have to figure out what it is that you want them to do. What is it that you believe? How do you want this business or this team to perform? So you need to find your voice by figuring out what values are yours, figure out what's important to you, and then help other people see what's important to you, and then align with their values. And together you become a team. So basically it's lining your values with other people's values and then going forth and conquering together. The next step of exemplary leadership is to inspire a shared vision. You can't command commitment, you actually have to inspire it. And I think this is one of the harder things that they discuss is that, getting people motivated, so to speak. So you need to envision the future by imagining exciting and ennobling possibilities, and then enlist others in that common vision by making them inspired, giving them reasons to work hard. The third the third method of the exemplary process of being a leader is challenging the process. That you need to search for opportunities and by seizing the initiative and look outward for ways to make innovation happen. That leaders don't just sit back and wait for the things to come to them, that they actually seek out opportunities. That leaders need to actually take risks, generate small wins, learn from mistakes, and then take that experience and lead the team from forward from there, even if there are setbacks. The fourth process is enable others to act. So you should lead by empowering those around you. Leaders foster collaboration by building trust and facilitating relationships. So you need to allow people to do things on their own and venture out a little bit on their own. And that builds that if you trust them, then they in turn trust you. So that also helps others feel more competent in what they are doing. And then the last thing is encourage the heart. They say that recognition is the most powerful currency and it costs nothing. And I really do believe that. This book really did help me affirm that just saying thank you and you appreciate people really does go a long way. Sometimes it's not about the money, but it's about feeling like you're part of something and feeling like you're actually valued. And so they really stress to recognize contributions by showing appreciation for individual excellence as well as group excellence, celebrate the values and victories, and have community events. I know right now in the current state of affairs, things are not able to have a whole lot of group activities, but they really do emphasize having like Christmas parties and group get-togethers to really confirm that team response. So my strengths and weaknesses of this book, I really did think there was more strengths than weaknesses. It had very easy to understand concept. I did like the real world examples that it offered. It had a pretty easy to follow framework. I like things that are very uniform, so this worked for me. To have 5 things to follow and not 25, I thought was very nice. It is evidence-based because it is based on information that they've gained over the last 30 years from talking to other people, asking what has worked and what hasn't worked. So I really like that it was as evidence-based by utilizing the LPI that they developed. It has a lot of really nice, easy to follow diagrams and charts, so it was very cleanly laid out. It can be used just as a field guide, so you don't necessarily need to read all of the chapters if you're just concerned about one area, like maybe building, inspiring people, or just utilizing, encouraging the heart. You can just look at that particular section. The weaknesses of the book are this. It could be also what I consider a strength, but it doesn't need to be read cover to cover, which may deter some readers. Some people like to be able to have a complete start and then a complete ending, where this book kind of doesn't necessarily go in that route. You can skip around if you wanted to. And so that could be a weakness on to some people. It was not necessarily a huge weakness to me. It did have a pretty large foreword and a lot of acknowledgments, which kind of made the book much longer than it needed to be. And I understand that they have a lot of people to thank over 30 years, but I pretty much felt like that could be cut down a lot and make the book shorter. Um, it covered only transformational leadership, which is their theory. So it did give you a limited view of just what they are aware of, and of that one aspect of leadership. And I thought it was quite long. It was 396 pages, which was quite a long book to me, on leadership practices. I do feel like they met their objectives. Excuse me. They described an easy to follow framework that was consistently reinforced throughout the entire book. And it is research backed by 500 to 700,000 responses that they received on their LPI. It does educate people by examples and uses real world proven experiences, which I really felt like supported the method and supported the evidence-based management portion of this theory. So yes, I would give this book a 2 thumbs up. I really did enjoy this book. I would recommend it for anyone who's interested in transformational leadership. I think it gave wonderful examples to follow. It wasn't just why to do something, but how to do it properly. So I really did feel like it was well-rounded and it covered a whole lot of subject matter, and kind of gave me a little bit of inspiration to be a leader in the future. So I really did enjoy this book a lot, and I highly recommend it. Jim and Barry say that leadership is the relationship between leaders and followers. So this book is an excellent resource to make that occur. So I highly recommend it. And if you are interested, please check out the Leadership Challenge. And I hope you enjoy this book as much as I did. Thank you. This is the reference for the book, The Leadership Challenge, How to Make Extraordinary Things Happen in an Organization. And this is my contact information should you have any questions about the book I've reviewed today. Thank you for listening and good luck in your studies.